Okay, so this is unit 6.1, percents and decimals. The question that we had to answer was, how does a decimal point move when you rewrite a percent as a decimal and a decimal to a percent? So we're going to do a couple of practices real quick, and hopefully you'll get the hang of it. So the trick is the number 2. Number 2, that is the trick. Because what you are going to do is anytime you have to turn a decimal into a percent, you are going to move this sucker right here, your decimal point, you are going to move it over 2 times. So 1, 2, just like this. So your decimal point will go right there where the arrow is, and if I had to rewrite this, this would be, guess, 1%. So that would turn into 1%. So let's do it again with 45. We have 1, 2, decimal point goes right there, and I rewrite this as 45%. Alright, real quick, I want you to try to do 6 on this one right here, 0.6 on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. And some of you may have done this where you went over one time and you called it a day and you said it was 6%, but remember that we said that we need to do 2, right? So we move it over one more time. But I know what you're asking. There's nothing there, so what do we do? Well, because there's nothing there, you put a 0 in. So this actually turns into 60%. So you'll see this done a couple of ways. You'll see it written like this, where it's just 0.6, and sometimes you'll see something that says 0.60. Either way, you still have to move this 2 times. Please don't forget that. So again, so I want you guys to try and do this one on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. And remember, so we're going to move it 2 times. So this is going to turn into 1, 2, and you would rewrite that as 145%. That's a lot of percentages. So that is the trick to moving a decimal into a percent. Remember, it has to be 2 times. 2, not 1, not 3, 2. So let's go ahead and we'll work on turning percentages into decimals. So just like we had to move the decimal this way to turn a decimal into a percent, we actually have to do the opposite. So right here is where our decimal would be, right? Yes. So, okay, we're going to move it 1, 2. And I would rewrite 67% as 0.67, and you're done. That's it. So let's try it again real quick. I want you to do 49% on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. And you guys are going to go ahead and take the decimal point, go 1, 2, like so. And that turns into 0.49. So I have 115%. I want you guys to try and do that on your own real quick. And so again, we're only going to move it 2 times. Remember, it's got to be 2. So it goes over to 1, 2. Stops right there. So 115% turns into 1.15, and that's it. So go ahead and let's do this one together real quick. So I have 1%, right? So if I have to move it over how many times? 2, right? So we're gonna move it over 2 times. So that decimal point's right here. We go over 1, 2. There's nothing here, right? It's a lot like this. There was nothing here, so we ended up having to put the 0 in. So again, you're gonna put this right here, a 0 and 1. So 1% turns into 0.01. So now this one can be a little tricky because there's already a decimal in this percent, right? So you might think that you only have to move it over 1 time. Nope, you still gotta move it over 2 times. So let's do this together real quick. So we're gonna do 1, 2, nothing here. So this turns into 0.025. Now, over here we were trying to say, because this is our essential question, so how does a decimal point move when you rewrite a percent as a decimal and a decimal to a percent? Well, when it is a decimal to a percent, it moves 2 times to the right. So when it is a decimal to a percent, it's 2 times to the right. When it is a percent to a decimal, it moves 2 times to the left. So again, decimal to percent, 2 to the right, percent to decimal, 2 to the left.